Do you know who I am? I ran into my sister who stole my doctor fiancé over a decade ago. As soon as we saw each other, she and her husband, who married a poor person, looked down on me. When my husband stood up for me, Ronnie, with a condescending look, said this to us. My husband, faced with my sister and her husband's disdain, retorted, "And who do you think I am?" In response, they laughed mockingly and hurled more insults at us, calling us poor. Ignoring my sister and her husband, we left the lounge, unable to hide our smiles. And as a result, my sister and her husband ended up seeing hell. My name is Carolina, 45 years old. I work as a nurse. Ever since I was little, I dreamed of becoming a nurse, and after a lot of hard study, I made that dream come true. I married Reynolds when I was 37. It was a late marriage, but there was a reason for that. Getting married in my late 30s, I had given up on having children, but I discovered I was pregnant in the last year of my 30s. Since we hadn't done any preconception care, my husband and I were quite surprised. Then, joyfully, I gave birth to a son at 40. Despite being a high-risk pregnancy and a difficult birth, my son is now 5 years old. When my son started daycare, I returned to work. My husband and I have a good relationship and are living happily. Now, I may have a happy family, but about a decade ago, I was pushed to the brink by certain people, to the point of almost giving up on life. Those people were Ronnie, my then fiancé, and my sister Elsa. In fact, these two were the reason my marriage was delayed, and I never wanted to see them again. But I never expected to run into them again in such a place. When I was 27, Ronnie, a popular doctor at the same hospital, pursued me relentlessly until we started dating. Ronnie was handsome and popular among patients and nurses. I was overjoyed that such a person liked ordinary me. Our relationship went smoothly, and on my 29th birthday, Ronnie proposed. I wanted to marry Ronnie and had hoped to marry in my 20s, so I immediately accepted. Congratulated by colleagues and supervisors, I was at the peak of happiness. But that happiness crumbled unexpectedly. While busy with wedding preparations, there was something I wasn't keen on. The family meeting. I wanted to meet Ronnie's family, but dreaded introducing him to mine. Especially my sister Elsa. There's only one reason. It's someone you never want to meet again. Elsa is 2 years older than me, and we've always had a bad relationship. The reason we as sisters don't get along is because Elsa has a difficult personality. Elsa is strikingly beautiful and has always been popular with men. But she often ridiculed others, comparing them to her looks, and even stealing their partners. She was disliked by other girls, and to my knowledge had no female friends. Also, I was no exception, and Elsa made fun of me and looked down on me. "You're really not cute. I can't believe you're my sister. I feel so sorry for you." She constantly mocked me too, belittling my appearance. I was afraid Elsa would steal Ronnie. So I wasn't positive about the family meeting. But I couldn't avoid it, so I reluctantly went ahead. Surprisingly, Elsa behaved and attended quietly. After successfully finishing the meeting with my family, only the meeting with Ronnie's family remained. On the day of the meeting, Elsa called. "Your fiancé is mine now. Ronnie's marrying me, so you're useless." Confused, I asked for clarification, and she happily explained. At the family meeting, Elsa fell for Ronnie and secretly initiated contact. She actively pursued him, and they became intimate. Recently, they had officially started dating, Elsa said cheerfully. Disbelieving, I hung up and immediately called Ronnie. It's just like Elsa said. I guess if I'm choosing a wife, I'd prefer a beauty. You're not really in my league, right? Ronnie answered nonchalantly. That's harsh. You said you loved me. Stop crying, it's annoying. Anyway, the engagement is off. You should be grateful you even got to date a handsome guy like me for 2 years. With that, Ronnie hung up the phone. Just as I feared, my sister Elsa had stolen my fiancé and my marriage was off. That was about 10 years ago. After that, the engagement with Ronnie was broken and I decided to cut ties with Elsa. Working in the same place as Ronnie, where our engagement had been known, made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. Unable to mentally cope with working alongside my ex-fiancé, I quickly resigned and took a job at another hospital. I wanted nothing to do with Elsa and Ronnie, but they seemed to enjoy harassing me, like sending wedding invitations to my parents, or deliberately sending me pictures of Elsa in her wedding dress. It was enough to push me to the edge. I spent days crying and even sought psychiatric help, fearing I would break. To cut ties with Elsa, I changed my contact information and stopped communicating with my parents. As a result, I gradually regained my spirit and returned to my previous lifestyle. The new hospital where I re-employed was significantly larger than the previous one, with so much to learn that I had no time to think about Elsa and Ronnie. Thanks to that, I was able to forget them. Although I had prioritized my career, I began to receive advances from a surgeon working at the same hospital. Traumatized by my experience with Ronnie, I kept avoiding a relationship with another doctor. However, after a year of persistent pursuit, I finally agreed to go out for a meal with him, where I shared my past and clearly stated that I had no intention of dating another doctor. Even so, I can't give up on liking you. I promise to make you happy. Let's date with marriage in mind. Moved by his sincerity, I agreed to date him. That man is now my husband, Reynolds. Later, I overcame my trauma and built a happy family. I'm incredibly grateful to Reynolds for not giving up on me. One night, my in-laws called, inviting our family to their house. Though I was estranged from my own parents, I had a good relationship with my in-laws. We dined with them several times a month, and my mother-in-law, Ariana, often helps by taking care of my son when we're busy. Arriving at my in-laws, we were chatting about trivial things when, "You might be busier next year, so why don't you two go on a trip this year? How about this well-reviewed hotel? Such luxury, we can't accept this. Besides," looking at my son beside me, "don't worry about him. Just relax and enjoy yourselves," Ariana said kindly. My father-in-law Timothy presented us with travel tickets. Surprised by the sudden generosity of my in-laws, my husband and I decided to graciously accept the trip. After aligning our schedules, we left our son with my in-laws and went on the trip with Reynolds. It was our first trip alone since our honeymoon, feeling fresh and like newlyweds again. However, unaccustomed to being without our son, we felt somewhat uneasy and went to the hotel lounge after checking in. As we were seated, "Is that Carolina? It is you, Carolina, right?" Someone from the next table called out. Thinking it was an acquaintance, I looked up and... "What? Why are you?" It was Elsa and Ronnie. Stunned by the unexpected appearance, I was at a loss. Unlike my shock, Elsa and Ronnie looked like children who had found a new toy. "Long time no see. Still plain as ever. Haven't changed a bit." "But, well, haven't you aged a bit?" Elsa kept talking to me. Flashbacks of the past paralyzed me, and I found myself unable to respond. Elsa and her company continued to address me without concern. "What? Ignoring your sister? You should be grateful that we're even talking to you." As usual, she spoke arrogantly. I noticed beer bottles and glasses on Elsa's table. They had been drinking. The alcohol seemed to embolden them. Their loud voices drew glances from others. "Carolina, are you?" Noticing my distress, Reynolds asked, and I nodded slightly. Elsa kept pestering me, but I remained silent. Then Elsa aggressively approached and splashed water from our table on me. "Oops, sorry. I thought you were sleeping since you didn't reply, so I wanted to wake you up, but my hand slipped." "You look even uglier when wet. Can't bear to look." Elsa did it on purpose. A nasty smirk on her face, looking down on me. Ronnie joined in taunting me. As water dripped from my hair, I wondered why I had to endure this. How long must I be ridiculed by these people? An indescribable emotion overwhelmed me. Holding back my urge to shout, I clenched my fists. Then Reynolds addressed Elsa and her husband. "What is this about? Throwing water on someone? What's your intention?" He reproached them, and they shifted their focus from me to him. Are you her husband? A perfect match for Carolina, looking so poor. Not at all like my husband. Poverty written all over your face. Hey, don't compare me with this guy. There's a huge gap between me and him. That's true, sorry. No comparison needed. Elsa and her husband began insulting Reynolds, calling him poor. But Reynolds remained unfazed. If you say that, your husband must be quite impressive. Ronnie, looking triumphant. Do you know who I am? Said to Reynolds. Reynolds pondered for a moment, then smiled at Ronnie. Well, I might know, or might not. Reynolds' ambiguous response caught my attention. I'm not someone you can casually talk to. I'm a chosen person. Ronnie spoke condescendingly. And who do you think I am? Reynolds replied sharply. His eyes intense through his mouth smiled. Elsa and Ronnie were momentarily taken aback by Reynolds' change, but soon they exchanged glances and began laughing. What? Trying to imitate me? Unlike you, I'm a celebrity. A poor man trying to compete with my husband? You're 100 years too early. My husband is a famous doctor, even appears on TV. Elsa and her husband bragged. Apparently, Ronnie left the previous hospital and was working at a new one, gaining some popularity as a handsome doctor on medical TV shows. I didn't watch TV much, so I was unaware, but Reynolds seemed to know. I had noticed people glancing over, likely recognizing Ronnie. Ronnie continued boasting about his hospital and position. Hearing the hospital's name, I realized something. Just that hospital is... As I began to speak, Reynolds gestured for me to be quiet. I immediately closed my mouth. So you see, our worlds are different. You poor people probably stretched your budget to stay at this hotel, but you're out of place here. Elsa said that and then started hurling insults at us, calling us poor. Ronnie followed, cursively insulting us. I wondered if it was alright for someone on TV to act like this. Fed up with Elsa's relentless verbal abuse, we left the lounge without ordering anything, as if fleeing. We could still hear Elsa and her company's voices behind us, but ignored them and returned to our hotel room. Back in the room, I detailed to Reynolds about my broken engagement with Ronnie and my strained relationship with Elsa. As soon as I finished, Reynolds became even angrier at Elsa and her husband. Seeing Reynolds, my own pent-up anger towards Elsa surged forth. I could bear being ridiculed myself, but not them mocking Reynolds. My anger intensified. I saw this meeting as a fateful opportunity. I resolved to take thorough revenge on Elsa and her husband. When I expressed my desire for revenge, Reynolds immediately agreed to help. We began to devise a plan to corner Elsa and her husband. Time passed and it was dinner time. Reynolds and I headed to the hotel's restaurant. The hotel was reputed for its delicious food, and we were looking forward to it. The meal exceeded our expectations, leaving us both deeply impressed. As we enjoyed our dessert, the last people we wanted to see showed up. But unlike before, I was a bit eager to meet them. Elsa, seeing us, said nastily, "Isn't that the poor couple who ran away? I told you you're out of place here. Leave this hotel already." Her words were dripping with malice. Though our pleasant meal was ruined, I felt different from before. Facing Elsa, I said, "Our lovely meal is ruined, all thanks to someone." Elsa's eyes widened in shock at being talked back to. The retort must have made her very angry. She turned red with anger. "You! How dare you talk back to me? You poor thing, don't define me. Know your place." She started yelling loudly. Elsa continued to insult us and create a scene. Ronnie, perhaps emboldened by alcohol, joined her in hurling insults. Their language was unbefitting the doctor, to say the least. The couple caused such a commotion that the staff had to intervene, but they responded arrogantly to the staff. "Stay out of it, outsider." Possibly tipsy, Elsa even pushed one of the staff members. She laughed as the staff member fell, displaying a lack of humanity. Elsa keeps bragging about her husband being great, but he's just on TV, right? Besides, it's your husband who's great, not you. Stop making such embarrassing boasts. Shut up. You're just jealous because your husband isn't praiseworthy. That's why I hate dealing with lowly people. I have plenty to praise about my husband. If we're talking levels, I think my husband is above Ronnie. I told Elsa and her husband that, and they burst out laughing as if they thought I was insane. So I decided to reveal a certain fact to Elsa and her husband. You know, Ronnie, you should at least remember the name of the director of your hospital, especially if you hold a position there. I said this, and the couple seemed confused by my words. There's no way we'd fall for such a lie. The next director of our hospital is already decided to be the current director's son, who's currently training at another hospital. They said this to us. Then, looking at Reynolds' face. With that face, being a doctor is impossible. Stop lying. Elsa laughed and pointed. How incredibly rude. My husband's name is Reynolds. As I said his name, Elsa's attitude remained unchanged, but Ronnie's face turned pale. He finally realized the mistake he had made. Elsa continued to mock us, but then... Elsa, stop! What Carolina is saying is true. Ronnie muttered softly. Hearing this, huh? Elsa whispered in shock. The truth is, Reynolds is the successor to the hospital where Ronnie works, and it's already decided he will be the next director. This was known among the staff with positions, but not his face, so Ronnie was unaware. As Ronnie said, Reynolds was currently working as a surgeon at a hospital owned by Timothy's acquaintance. I work as a nurse at the same hospital, and Timothy recently expressed his desire to entrust the hospital to Reynolds, who will become deputy director next year. I also plan to resign from my current hospital and rejoin Reynolds' new hospital to support him closely. Upon hearing this, Ronnie began to tremble. It can't be. You're the next director? He murmured. The man he had been mocking as poor was the son of the director of the hospital he worked at. No wonder he turned pale. You may be recognized for your skills, but when I become the director, I have no intention of employing someone with your lack of ethics. Also, I will be reporting this incident to Dad. Reynolds said this, and Ronnie, changing his attitude completely from before, began to apologize. Elsa looked on in shock as Ronnie repeatedly apologized. Stop standing there and apologize too. Apologize for your rude behavior just now. Ronnie urged Elsa to apologize as well. However, Elsa, instead of apologizing, turned to me. So, you're going to be the director's wife in the future? I answered that technically, yes. Honestly, I have no intention of acting superior as the director's wife. I plan to continue my nursing career. Learning that I would be the future director's wife, Elsa suddenly exclaimed, Then I should remarry your husband for a secure future. Give Ronnie back to you, and you give me your husband. A beauty like me suits the role of a director's wife better. Elsa said something outrageous. Angered by her words, Enough already. Don't treat people's husbands like objects. I don't know how overrated you think you are. You're just an ordinary woman now, right? Relying on beauty to attract men works maybe until your 30s. I calmly retorted to Elsa. Elsa, not expecting to be countered, was taken aback. Then Reynolds laughed mockingly. I'd refuse even if paid. Elsa's face showed shock. She probably never imagined being disliked by a man. Thinking she could always stay young and beautiful was a big mistake. But you two are going to be busy now. No time to worry about being a director's wife. What do you mean by that? Well, a TV doctor causing such a scene is bound to end up on the internet, right? I've seen people filming with their phones. You'll be busy dealing with that. Elsa and Ronnie had been oblivious to their surroundings, focused solely on us. At my words, they looked around in shock. Half the people in the restaurant were filming or taking photos. For a TV personality to be seen yelling and harming staff, becoming internet fodder was inevitable. Realizing this, Elsa and Ronnie's faces went pale and they crumbled. They were in a bigger mess than us. They tried to hide their faces and pleaded with people not to film. Reynolds and I left them there, apologized to the other guests and staff, and left. The next day at checkout, I thought we might see the couple again, but they were nowhere to be seen. Later, Reynolds filled me in on their fate. After returning from the trip, he reported everything to Timothy. Timothy was furious and planned to fire Ronnie, but Ronnie had already submitted his resignation. As I suspected, videos and photos of the couple had spread online, causing a huge backlash. We checked online. Our faces and voices were edited, but the couple was fully exposed. As a result, they became targets of the media and the public, leading a chaste life. Reynolds guessed they had to quit their jobs. Now jobless, their future struggles were apparent, but I hoped they would stay out of my sight. Afterward, I joined Reynolds in working at Timothy's hospital. Reynolds is training under Timothy to become the director. I also started my new job there. Without prejudice for being the deputy director's wife, it's a great work environment. I look forward to supporting each other with Reynolds, both professionally and personally, and hope to continue living happily with my son and Reynolds.